Hey everybody, welcome to Heaths Model Works YouTube channel. I am here today to talk about the Heaths Model Works interior kit that I sell on my website as well as my eBay store. The kit is really made to marry the 1969 Roadrunner Johan body to the AMT 1968 Roadrunner chassis. Also can be the 1969 GTX AMT chassis. They are identical. I figured I'd show the whole thing assembled before I get into the different modifications that are necessary to allow it to drop on and fit just right. Okay, I want to talk about alignments. There's specific alignments that you're trying to hit here when you're mounting the interior tub into the body and then the body onto the chassis. The critical ones are where the window pillar meets the door panel. The door panel has a little notch, like a little cutout in it that will line up with the vent window pillar. And that's on both Heaths Model Works door panel as well as the AMT kits door panels. So that registers the entire interior tub fore and aft in the chassis and in the body. So that's really important. You want to make sure when you're doing your test fits, that's what you're striving to hit there. Equally as important is where the chassis sits relative to the body. There's this little subframe here. You want that pretty much centered on the wheel wells to the chassis, and that'll make sure your wheels are centered. So that's the second important alignment feature. And you know, if you just put the kits together without doing any modifications, you're not going to hit that. There's some areas that need to be sanded off, and that's what I'm going to show you in this video. You can also see on the front here the inner fender well where it meets the body. The Johan chassis is a little low, but it's very minimal amount of movement here, and you can get it to come down. You could either build a filler panel for that if you want your wheels really high, or you can actually just push it down and it'll sit your wheel just a tiny bit, I guess, lower in the body than maybe the stock car. I kind of like that look, and I think that's the way I'm going to build this one up, but you know, you can always put a small piece of styrene strip in here to get it just the way you want it. Okay, now we're going to talk about the modifications that are needed to the different parts in order to make this all fit together beautifully. The first one, and it's probably the most important one, is the chassis itself. This area where I've circled with the black Sharpie, that's there's sharp corners on there, and it's very high in certain areas. So I use a drum attachment on my Dremel, and I'll show a picture of that before the end of the video, just to show you exactly what my setup is. And it makes really quick work of removing the styrene. And you know, it's kind of like a trial and error. You take the interior tub, you put everything together, you see where you're at, and then you kind of get an idea how much you have to take off. So you can sand that off there, and until when the body and the chassis, when you marry it with the tub in there, everything aligns like I showed you at the beginning of the video. So that's the first step. The second step is the glass. This is the Johan glass, and it comes with a really large tab that comes off the back side here, and it's designed to go around these little posts. I think this kit started its life as a screw together, and that's probably why, because a lot of those kits used to have these big posts that married to the glass and the chassis where screws went up through. But either way, that's got to come out, because if you don't take it out, when you sit the interior tub in here, that big piece of plastic holds the tub way off, and it not only does it leave a really ugly sight line when you're looking inside the body, but it holds the tub way off, and it just won't allow the chassis to sit down in there all the way. So the way I did it is I laid the glass in, and I drew that line on there with a Sharpie, about 1/8 of an inch in, and then I just, again, drum sander, 30 seconds, maybe a minute, and I had all that off of there. So, and that's what allows the tub to sit up in there just right. Okay, and the final modification that needs to be made is to the tail end here of the chassis on the AMT. The body on the Johan kit is a lot narrower than the AMT kit, so much so that the chassis actually just expands it out and it interferes with it when you assemble it on. So I took off about maybe a little less than 1/8 of an inch on each side. It doesn't have to be pretty either, because the Johan body actually curves around here and you can't even see this line. It's completely covered when the body's installed on there. So that allows the Johan body to come down and around here and not be expanded out, and allows the chassis to drop down inside so that you get the right height between the body and the chassis, so that this piece here lines up flush with the bottoms of the doors on the body. Okay, got one more piece of information. It's not really about how to mount the chassis, but to the body, but more for how the hood will operate on your model when you get it all together. I kind of forgot about this, and it's probably worth mentioning. So the Johan kit, the hood on the Johan kit has like built-in hinges on it. They don't look like the factory hinges, but they're nice because they allow you to open the hood and shut the hood. The AMT kit comes with stationary hinges that will allow you to position the hood in the open position so people can look at your motor, but it doesn't function. So once you make that decision, you're kind of stuck with it. I like to move things around, and as I add models or take models away from my display cabinet, sometimes I decide to open the hood or shut the hood. So I decided to make this one so the hood could be opened or closed. And in order to do that on the AMT chassis, you gotta make room for those hinges. And that involves cutting some material out of the inner fender, as you can see here, and the firewall. And you know, it's not, I didn't like spend an enormous amount of time figuring out how big they had to be, but just kind of eyeballed it. Most of this isn't visible when the body's installed, so and the hinges themselves kind of cover this up, so it doesn't have to be super neat, but it will allow the hood to open and close, which is something I really wanted. So I thought I'd point that out if anybody's building this up. This is the setup I use for taking the plastic off the chassis where we need to make the adjustments, as well as to the window glass. It's just a cheapo drum attachment to a cheapo high-speed tool. This was a Harbor Freight special. It's actually pretty nice. It's got a variable speed control on it, so that's why I got it. I think I had a coupon and I got this for 24 bucks some time ago, and I've used it quite a bit. It's holding up well. For reference, I also put a Johan chassis in here for those of you that are going to not use the AMT chassis. You can use the Heaths Model Works interior kit with the Johan chassis if you want. It's a similar process. The body has these really large, sharp bosses in here that won't allow the tub to sit back where it belongs. So you gotta carefully sand out some material in here. You can also sand some of the material on the tub too, if you're trying to get it to sit a little lower. Some people like that low look. These corners here could be rounded off, and that will give you a little more room between the chassis. This corner right here, actually, if you round that off, it'll allow it to sit back a little bit. If you don't sand them off, what happens is the tub starts to ride up like that, and then you can't get the chassis to sit down low enough inside. But I was able to get this Johan chassis to sit in there with the Johan body mounted to it. Again, it's some trial and error, some finesse, a little bit of flex on the backside too to get it to be just right, but it can be done. I highly recommend using the AMT chassis though. If you're going to spend this amount of time building up your Roadrunner, do the body a favor and use that AMT chassis, because it's just got so much more detail than the Johan one comes with. To finish this video off, I thought I'd just show the differences here and why all of the different parts, depending on what you're trying to do with these Roadrunners. AMT on the right, Johan on the left, and you can get a pretty good idea of why it was impossible to make the interior tub that I sell work with both. The Johan chassis is super narrow, or body tub is super narrow versus the AMT. So trying to make this AMT one fit where this goes, it's not going to work without serious modification. And I know a lot of people that have done that, where they actually trim down the AMT chassis so that it will fit in the narrower Johan body. My tub allows you to not have to do that. The tub is very much the same type as the AMT tub. It has the exact same profile for the door panels. In fact, you can use my door panels in the AMT tub if you want to build up an AMT version of your GTX with Roadrunner door panels. But anyway, that's more or less the same. It's very close. It's just narrower, so it will fit inside the Johan tub. The Johan tub has the ears on the back as well that I talked about earlier. I don't even use those. I use the E6000 craft adhesive. It's like a clear, thick adhesive, and it works great for gluing in parts like this. You don't have to scrape the paint off. It's somewhat pliable after it dries, so it allows for a little bit of flex. And I use that quite a bit on this type of work here. In fact, you can see some of it here. This is what it looks like when it's all cured up. So I fit the parts into place. I use a little cyanoacrylate to get them tacked in, and then I follow up with the craft adhesive, and I just like fill the joint in, use a popsicle stick or whatever to kind of like push it into the joint. And then when it cures, it's nice and solid. So you can really, handle this thing kind of roughly and flex on it, and it won't come apart. Well, that's about all I have for today. Feel free to leave some questions in the comment field if I didn't cover something that you want to hear about. Other than that, have a good day, everybody.